Hi, I'm Karyn Hodgins, creator of Nifty Numbers, Math Medley, and Gelling with Geometry Family Math Night Kits. In this video, I'm going to share with you my latest collaborative project, Pom-Pom Pointillism and the Coordinate Grid, or as we called it at the Family Math Night event, Mystery Pictures. Now, obviously, they're not mystery pictures anymore because you can see the three of them behind me. But when we started, they were blank coordinate grids, slates, if you will. So, and you can see how wonderful they turned out. Okay, so I'm going to share with you how I did the activity and how I set it up at the Family Math Night event. I got the idea for this based on an activity that I used to do with my upper elementary students called Pointillism art. Pointillism is when artists create, it's a technique that artists use to create an image where they use colored dots. Okay, and of course I had to add my math twist to it and add the coordinate grid. There's a lot involved in the setup to this activity. And one of the first things that you're going to need to do is decide what pictures you're going to use. And obviously I wanted to choose pictures that would resonate with the kids. So I called one of our curriculum consultants, Mrs. Durbin. She teaches second and third grade. And she said what's really big with kids right now is Minecraft. So after doing a Google search on some Minecraft images I came up with, you can see him right here, Steve. I thought he would be the best one to illustrate using this technique. And how I created him was, when I did that Google search, I found this. And how perfect is this to transfer into the coordinate grid. Now I got this from a site called candypatterns.com, and by the way, all the links that I'm going to tell you about and all of the table tents and activity sheets and so forth that I'm going to share with you are on our website at familymathnight.com under the resources, hosting a Family Math Night collaborative project link. So all that's available for you. But anyway, so I found Steve on candypatterns.com, and there's a bunch of wonderful images that you can use here. These images actually come from, they're images to be used in the fuse beads. Okay, this is something that my kids used to do a lot when they were younger. So there's these little plastic beads, right? They're colored. And then you get these patterns and these little grids. Okay, that's perfect because that looks like a coordinate grid, doesn't it? And these come in different shapes. And the kids create these patterns on here, and then they iron them or they fuse them together. So here's one that I just threw together really quickly. It's not really anything, but it gives you the idea. And when my kids got that kit, it came with a whole bunch of different ideas for them. I see those ideas, and most of them actually can be transferred to the coordinate grid. So on this website, candypatterns.com, there's a whole bunch of additional images that are meant for these fuse beads, but can be easily transferred to this project as well. So while I was on Google Images, I also discovered another site. Okay, this guy, Joel Hagen, he does these pictures out of Skittles. How cute is that? And so I chose, again, these were easily transferred for me on a coordinate grid. I chose, you can see right here, Sonic, and then Mario, of course. And all I did is I took these and I transferred it to a grid, like that. Okay. And then from here, I came up with the set of coordinates. And I wrote all those coordinates down like this. And then I transferred this, and you'll see in just a minute, I'll share with you how the participants actually plotted these. But his link, because he has other images as well, his link is on our site as well. And then another idea for you to get ideas of pictures is This is something that my kids made when they were really little. Okay, these little bead projects, super fun, great math, great counting, great direction, following direction activity. These are just little beads. And again, this came in a bucket with a whole bunch of additional patterns that they could make. And again, these lend themselves very well, a lot of them do, to being transferred to the coordinate grid. And then finally, if you type into Google Images pixel art, you'll end up with tons more pictures to choose from. So your problem isn't going to be finding a picture. Your problem is going to be choosing the one that you want to do. So you can see the ones that I chose here. Okay, so once you've done that, or actually a part of the choosing process is going to be keeping in mind that you're going to need to find the correct colored pom-poms. So you can see here in Sonic, in my original Sonic, he actually has gray in here. I could not find gray pom-poms anywhere. So I actually traded out the gray into the white, and the white works just perfectly. But a heads up on that, so you want to make sure that you find your pom-poms. Something that I learned though in buying my pom-poms, because you buy them in packages, is that if you go to the fabric section, or if you go to a fabric store, you can buy pom-poms, it's called fringe pom-poms, and they're like on long ribbons with, they're just got lined with pom-poms. So if you were desperate and you found the color and the size that you needed, you could buy that and then just cut off all your pom-poms. A little bit of extra work, but if you're desperate, like I said, then it's worth doing that. Okay, so you're also going to need to figure out the size of the pom-poms that you wanted. I didn't want my grid to be super huge, so I didn't want the really big inch pom-poms. I actually thought I was going to do the 1/2 inch pom-poms, which are these turquoise colored pom-poms here. But I went with 1/4 inch. That's all these other pom-poms. And I went with a 1/4 inch because you can see that we're going to be plotting these on a coordinate grid. So the intersections of the lines is really important, and I thought it would be easier to see it with the 1/4 inch. What happens with the 1/2 inch is that you start to have to squeeze in those pom-poms, and it's real easy to get off just a little bit. And if you get off just a little bit and a little bit keeps happening, then pretty soon you're off a lot. Okay, so why did I go with the 1/2 inch turquoise pom-poms? Because I was looking for 1/4 inch light blue pom-poms, and I couldn't find them anywhere. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to have these station facilitators there, and I'm going to use the 1/2 inch. It's really all that I had, and so and it turned out just fine. But again, my preference would be the 1/4 inch. Okay, so you've got your pictures, you've got your pom-poms. Now you need to make your grid. So because I was going with the 1/4 inch pom-poms, I wanted to make my grid 1/2 inch squares. So I have I use a lot of graph paper in the classroom, and they come in big sheets, easel-sized sheets, and I get them at an office supply store. So what I did is I turned, but you can see right here that these are square inches. I turned that into the 1/2 inch, and I did it using a piece of cardboard and a very fine tip felt pen, black. And then I just went and I created my lines like that, and then my horizontal lines like that. And it actually didn't take as long as you would think it would take. It moved pretty quickly. So these are 1/2 inch with the 1/4 inch pom-poms. And I glued, I don't know if you can see this here, but this is actually glued on the cardboard. So behind this paper, this grid, is actually nice firm cardboard that I glued the graph paper onto. I did not glue this poster board, this black frame, until after the event, because I didn't want it to get ruined throughout the event. So that came after. Okay, so now you've got your picture, you've got your pom-poms, and you have your grid. You're ready to set up your Family Math Night station. And so what we do with our Family Math Night kits is all of our kits come with stations that are leveled beginning, intermediate, and advanced. So there's really 3 activities going on at a station, which is, by the way, why I chose the 3 pictures. But I didn't want to limit the participants to a beginning, an intermediate, and advanced picture. I wanted them to choose which one they wanted to go to. So I called them Project A, Project B, and Project C instead. And I color coordinated the project table tents with the plotting points cards, so that all of these, this is Project A, this is Project B, and this is Project C, so they could keep it together like that. It was really important that I had at least one station facilitator per picture. I used 5th graders, and I had 3 of them, and they were responsible for just that one picture. Because what happens here is you're going to get probably at max 3 people working on it, one picture at a time. But a lot of these kids aren't used to plotting points on a coordinate grid. Now I know it can be done, and I chose to do that deliberately because I wanted to keep it consistent across all 3 pictures. But I've done plotting points with kids as young as kindergartners. We do it in our math medley kit, and they use dice and stickers, and it works just fine. You know, their parent is sitting there guiding them, and then once they learn what they're doing, then they're good to go. But I wanted to make sure that the station facilitator was right there on top of them, because putting your colored pom-pom on the correct point on the grid is really important if your picture is going to turn out the way that it's supposed to turn out, right? So I did have hanging, this comes from our math medley kit, I did have hanging at that station this grid right here that showed the participants exactly how to plot the points. What you could do, I didn't do this at mine, but you could, for older kids, use the 4-quadrant grid, and now you're getting into some negative integers, so real easy to adapt that to that level if that's something that you want to do. But you may not have this banner. And in addition to that, I did include this on the tables as well. And this is a Mystery Picture Collaborative Project Plotting Pom-Poms. So this is what this says here. And I had several of these laid out across the station. So it says we're using a set of coordinates to plot our pom-poms. When the pom-pom has been plotted, it will reside at the intersection of a vertical and a horizontal line. Okay, for example, plotting the coordinates 3, 2, and in parens, begin at 0, then move over to the right 3, and then up 2. See the example below, and then I have my little pom-poms on there, okay, to show them exactly how to do that. And again, the station facilitators were there to guide them if necessary. Okay, so how did they know which points to plot? That's where these come in. I made a whole bunch of cards. Once I had all of my coordinates color-coded, the colors red, these are all the coordinates for red in that particular one. Once I had all that organized, I then transferred them to these. And what happened was, originally what I was going to do is have my graders hand these out to participants as they walked in. And you'll see when I read this to you in a second why that's reflected here. But what I ended up doing was having each station facilitator, like the Project A station facilitator, would be responsible, see how color coordinated that is, would be responsible for the coordinates at the station, and then Project B station facilitator, and so forth. All right, so let me read to you what it says on this. It says, Mystery Picture Collaborative Project A, directions. We need your help figuring out the mystery picture. Sometime during the event, stop by the mystery picture station and fill in the coordinate grid with the colored pom-pom indicated below. Then feel free to work on the activities listed on the table tent. By the end of the event, our mystery should be solved. Thank you for helping. And then I have, please return this card to the station facilitator when finished. And I have that on there so that the station facilitator can know which points have already been plotted. All right, so then it lists the color and then the points to be plotted. Now there's between like 8 and 15 different points to be plotted on here. what I discovered was that the real little guys, okay, your little kindergartners, first of all, they're going to be fascinated by your station simply because there's glue at the station, and kindergartners love glue. I should tell you this. What I did is I had for project A, so here's project A, then I had the grid flat, and then near project A, I put the colored pom-poms that were appropriate for that project. And then I had these lids, and I had the glue in the lids to make it real easy for the kids to dip into there and put it on the coordinate grid. But those kindergartners, you know, plotting 15 points can be a lot for them. So what I would probably do next time is have the station facilitator, if they see a really young child there, say, you know, would you do the beige and the dark brown? And then they would hand it back and then have somebody else finish that part there if it gets a little bit overwhelming for them. But their parents are there to help them plot those points. And it worked just fine. Obviously the pictures turned out really great. Okay, but also on this card, it said something about the activities on the table tent. So let me get to that next. So I had these table tents also spread out on the table. And this is the Mystery Picture Collaborative Project. So it says, although we are using a coordinate grid to create our mystery picture, the pom-poms represent the dots of colors used by artists such as George Seurat to create an image. We call this painting technique pointillism. So, oh, and by the way, in the classroom, when I do this with students in the classroom, I actually show pictures. I didn't do this at Family Math Night, but you certainly could. Here's George's Seurat, A Sunday on La Grande. Okay, and obviously you can't see this very well, but this is made up of dots of color. Okay, so here's the first activity. To get a better idea of how pointillism works, use the loop. I had a whole bunch of these things. They're called loops, but you could also use magnifying glasses. Okay. To carefully observe the colors in the comic strips, what do you notice? So I had a whole bunch of comic strips at one end of the station, and then participants would come and they would very carefully observe, go down and observe the colors. And what they would notice is that a lot of the colors in these comic strips are made up of little teeny tiny dots. So we don't know that, right? So it was kind of fascinating for them. Okay, pointillism work right there in our Sunday paper. And then I had, like I mentioned earlier, in our kits, we level the activities beginning, intermediate, and advanced. So I kept with that theme. And I had can you solve it problems. So at the beginning level, it's how many total pom-poms did you add to our mystery picture? So some basic beginning counting. Okay. At the intermediate level, there are 17 red, 30 yellow, 46 gray, 128 black, and 81 blue pom-poms needed for our Project B mystery picture. How many pom-poms is that altogether? And how did you figure it out? So I had some scrap paper and some pencils there for them to work on that addition problem with their parents. And then at the advanced, there are 144 dark blue, 29 red, 16 light blue, 55 beige pom-poms needed for our Project C mystery picture. How would you represent the light blue pom-poms as a fraction? So now they're going to add those all up, right? That's going to be the denominator. And then they're going to put 16 over whatever that denominator is, because there was 16 light blue. And then there was a challenge here for them to simplify the light blue fraction. So if they're ready for that, then they can take on that challenge. So tying a little bit of the math to that. Obviously I used pom-poms for this, but an idea came to me later that if you wanted to use other kinds of materials, like maybe you could use beads to do this. And then I have a whole bunch of these little really blingy jewels that I use with kindergartners to do patterns with. As long as you made sure that you had the right colors for your picture, this would actually turn out to be pretty cool, I think, to use jewels. So all in all, it was a fabulous project. It was super fun during the event to have kids try and guess what they thought the pictures were going to be. And then as it got closer to the end of the evening, then it came more into focus, and it was super fun and super exciting, and obviously turned out really well. So have fun with it.